Good morning. The Bank of Canada is one of our most important institutions. It's a beacon of independence and stability that for over 80 years has worked to protect the Canadian economy. In the course of my duties, I've met finance ministers and central bankers from around the world. Without fail, I hear about how well respected our central bank is for its strong record of sound judgment based on rigorous research and analysis. The bank's strength has also been built on the legacy of successive governors who've acted with integrity, resolve, and a profound respect for the office. Today, I'm pleased to announce the next governor of the Bank of Canada will be Tiff Macklem. He will succeed Governor Poloz, under whose stewardship the bank has preserved its excellence and worldwide standing. La Banque du Canada est une de nos institutions les plus importantes. Pendant plus de 80 ans, elle a protégé l'économie canadienne. La force de la Banque du Canada a aussi été le résultat du travail des gouverneurs qui l'ont précédé avec intégrité et un respect profond pour ce poste important. Aujourd'hui, je suis fier d'annoncer que le prochain gouverneur du Banque du Canada sera Tiff Macklem. Governor-designate Macklem brings a deep knowledge of the Canadian economy and financial markets. He was one of Canada's leading economic stewards during the 2008 financial crisis, expertise that will serve Canada well as we work to deal with the COVID-19 crisis. Currently, he's the Dean of the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto and recently completed a term as the chair of the Global Risk Institute. Prior to that, he served as the Senior Deputy Governor of the Bank of Canada. Having spent over 15 years in senior roles at the Bank of Canada and the Department of Finance, Tiff has intimate knowledge of the institution, with an understanding of the need to ensure that the bank continues to meet the needs of Canadians. Monsieur Macklem amène une profonde compréhension de l'économie canadienne et des marchés financiers. Il était l'un des principaux acteurs de la crise économique de 2008, une expertise qui servira bien le Canada alors que nous faisons face à la crise de la COVID-19. Il a été premier sous-gouverneur de la Banque du Canada et possède une connaissance approfondie de l'institution ainsi qu'une fine compréhension de l'importance d'assurer que la banque continue de répondre aux besoins des Canadiens. Tiff's experience as Canada's finance deputy to the G7 and G20 countries makes him a familiar face on the world stage, where I have no doubt he will be a strong and effective voice for Canada. Throughout his distinguished career, Tiff has earned the respect of economic leaders thanks to his judgment and his expertise. I look forward to working with him as he takes on this role at a critical time for our country. The bank's role is to serve the best interests of the economic life of the nation. Under the leadership of Stephen Poloz, the bank fulfilled this role in an exemplary fashion. More than that, Governor Poloz has been a great colleague to work with. Together, we introduced the new $10 banknote, the first to feature a Canadian woman, human rights icon Viola Desmond. We also worked in collaboration at countless international forums, and I can tell you that he was always a strong voice at the table for Canada. Governor Poloz's service has been rooted in dedication, in professionalism, and in the utmost commitment to serve the good of Canada. During this crisis, I can tell you that there was never any hesitation on his part to be swift and innovative. Governor, you've shown tremendous leadership, knowing when to step beyond the bounds of convention in the moment. The Canadian economy has been well served by his spirit of openness and cooperation. Le service du gouverneur Poloz a été fondé sur le dévouement, le professionnalisme et le plus grand engagement envers le bien du Canada. Le gouverneur Poloz a été un excellent collègue avec qui travailler. Nous avons travaillé ensemble lors d'innombrables forums internationaux. Il a toujours été une voix forte à la table pour le Canada. On behalf of all Canadians, Stephen, I want to thank you for serving as the Governor of the Bank of Canada for these past 7 years. I know that this will be a seamless transition as we work together as a team to protect Canada's economy. As we've seen over the past 2 months, during times of crisis, the interaction of our monetary and fiscal policy is critical for our economy. Governor-designate Macklin will begin his tenure, we know, at a time of unprecedented challenge. But I have no doubt that he will be an excellent partner in promoting a strong Canadian economy. Monsieur Macklem entamera son mandat au cours d'une période de défis sans précédent. Mais je ne doute pas qu'il sera un excellent partenaire pour promouvoir une économie canadienne forte. I want to once again thank Governor Poloz for his contributions to Canada. It's been my great honor and genuine pleasure to work alongside you these past 5 years. And to Tiff, congratulations. Looking forward to working together. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Minister. It's been a pleasure for me also. Let me begin by thanking the directors of the Bank of Canada for conducting an extensive and thorough search for the 10th Governor of the Bank of Canada. They've done an outstanding job in selecting the next leader to run this important institution. Les 7 dernières années ont été extrêmement gratifiantes pour moi sur le plan professionnel et personnel, et tout aussi stimulantes. Je tiens à remercier tous les membres du conseil d'administration actuel et passé pour le soutien, ainsi que le ministre Morneau pour son leadership et son amitié au cours des dernières années. It is bittersweet for me to be leaving this great institution. I've had the time of my life in my dream job. That said, every governor understands that you are a steward, and handing over the reins to someone as capable as Tiff Macklem means the bank and its role supporting Canadians is in solid hands. Like me, Tiff grew up in this organization, and I know that, like me, he will serve as a dedicated steward for the next generation of central bankers. I also know that Tiff can count on the support and advice of the bank's governing council, its management, and credible staff as he takes on this rewarding role. On a more personal note, this represents the 3rd time that I've welcomed Tiff to the Bank of Canada, having done so back in 1984, again in 1989 after he completed his PhD, and then, of course, again today. Pour terminer, j'aimerais vous féliciter publiquement, Tiff, et vous offrir mes meilleures voeux de succès alors que vous vous apprêtez à diriger la banque au service des Canadiens. Merci.
Well, thank you, Steve. To the Minister of Finance and the Board of Directors of the Bank of Canada, thank you for selecting me to be the 10th Governor of the Bank of Canada. I am honored and privileged. I'm looking forward to returning to the bank and working alongside the distinguished members of the Governing Council and the bank's first-rate staff. The bank's employees have always been its greatest strength, and thanks to their efforts, the institution is considered one of the world's leading and most trusted central banks. That reputation has only been enhanced by the bank's decisive and unprecedented response to the COVID-19 crisis, led by Governor Poloz and Senior Deputy Governor Wilkins. The bank's actions are helping to protect Canada's economy and its financial system from lasting damage. Bien que les événements des dernières semaines ont été accaparants, il faut se rappeler que le mandat d'un gouverneur est de 7 ans. Et quand on considère l'ensemble du mandat du gouverneur Poloz, on constate que les contributions qu'il a apportées au Canada ont été exceptionnelles. Il est nommé en 2013 à un moment où les économies du Canada et du monde étaient encore aux prises avec des contre-coups de la crise financière mondiale. 1 an et demi plus tard, son équipe et lui ont dû gérer des effets du choc pétrolier. Throughout his 7 years, with several setbacks along the way, Governor Poloz has worked to bring the Canadian economy home. He did it, the bank did it. As recently as January, Inflation was very close to the 2% target and the unemployment rate at a 40-year low. Over the past couple of months, Canadians have benefited enormously from the leadership of Governor Poloz in dealing with the economic effects of COVID-19. The Bank of Canada promotes the well-being of Canadians through its 4 core functions: the independent conduct of monetary policy, the provision of secure, reliable banknotes, the promotion of a safe and efficient financial system, and by providing banking services to the Government of Canada. I'm looking forward to building on the fine standard that Governor Poloz, his team, and our predecessors have provided so that we can continue to fulfill the mandate set out in the Bank of Canada Act. To all Canadians, I pledge to do everything I can to live up to the very high standards of those who have come before us. Thank you.
Merci,
And with that,
thank you.
The minister, the governor, and I will be happy to take your questions.
Nous allons maintenant passer à la période de questions. We will start on the phone for 3 questions. 1 question, 1 follow-up. Opérateur, c'est à vous.
Thank you, merci. The first question, la première question, from Shelley Hagan from Bloomberg News. Please go ahead. Your line is open. À vous la parole.
Hello. My first question is for Finance Minister Bill Morneau. What was the primary factor in choosing Macklin?
Well, thank you for the question. What I can say is that we, as Canadians, are so fortunate to have an institution as well respected and as expert as the Bank of Canada. We are in a situation where that is an important foundation for our economy. And as we sought the next governor, we went through a process led by the Bank of Canada to find someone with the deep expertise and understanding not only of the Canadian economy, but the global economy and the current challenge. I can just say that I'm delighted that we've come to the selection of Tiff Macklem, who I believe will be an exemplary leader for the next era of the Bank of Canada.
Thank you. And then I have a question for Tiff Macklem. Congratulations on your new appointment. Have you resigned your board position at Scotiabank? And if not, does that present a conflict of interest?
Well, thank you for your congratulations. I found out about this appointment yesterday. I'm here today. Next week, I will be resigning from a number of positions, including Scotiabank, and I will be getting my affairs in order before joining the Bank of Canada.
Thank you.
Prochaine question.
Thank you, merci. The next question, la prochaine question de Émilie Bergeron de l'agence QMI. Please go ahead, your line is open. À vous la parole.
Oui, bonjour. Ma question pour M. Macklin, si vous pouvez répondre en français. If not, in English is fine. Comment entrevoyez-vous votre mandat alors que vous arrivez dans une période de turbulence économique assez importante en raison de la crise de la COVID-19? How do you anticipate your mandate as you are going to arrive in turbulent times because of COVID-19?
Je vais répondre en français. C'est clair que ce sera très important d'avoir une transition vite et très efficace. Comme vous avez mentionné, c'est un temps économique très difficile. Je suis confiant que la Banque a eu plusieurs transitions. Je suis confiant que ça va aller de manière très efficace. Comme le ministère a mentionné et gouverneur Poloz, j'ai une longue expérience à la banque. Je comprends bien comment la banque fonctionne. Je comprends bien le mandat du Banque du Canada. De plus, la banque a une équipe très forte. Le conseil, Governing Council, c'est une équipe diverse avec beaucoup d'expertise monétaire, financière, économique. Et finalement, durant les années récentes, comme doyenne du Rotman, j'ai toujours suivi de manière très proche les événements, les démarches dans l'économie, surtout ces dernières semaines. Donc, I'm looking forward to getting into the Bank of Canada, rejoining the bank. A seamless transition is going to be a first priority, and I am confident that we will be able to accomplish that.
Merci. Oui, j'aurais une question de suivi pour M. Morneau. Monsieur le ministre, on ne vous a pas entendu réagir hier sur ce rapport du directeur parlementaire du budget qui anticipe que le déficit pourrait atteindre plus de 250 milliards de dollars. Comment anticipez-vous qu'on va devoir, comment anticipez-vous regarnir les coffres de l'État dans ce contexte-là et est-ce que vous considérez, par exemple, une hausse d'impôts?
Merci. Ce que je peux dire, et comme vous avez dit il y a quelques secondes, c'est un temps très turbulent. Ça veut dire que nous sommes dans une situation où c'est nécessaire de considérer des investissements sans précédent. Ça, c'est très important. Avec une crise comme nous avons aujourd'hui, nous devons faire des investissements pour assurer que les gens vont être dans une bonne position, que les compagnies vont être dans une bonne position après la crise. Ça, c'est notre approche aujourd'hui. C'est clair qu'après, on va avoir les défis importants, mais j'ai beaucoup de confiance qu'avec nos investissements, nous allons avoir une économie plus forte après et de cette façon, on peut considérer comment nous pouvons améliorer la situation après. Mais c'est clair qu'avec la situation aujourd'hui, c'est très difficile à faire des calculations. C'est une bonne chose que le Parliamentary Budget Officer a essayé de considérer l'avenir. Quand nous avons plus d'informations, nous allons considérer notre position.
Prochaine question. Next question.
Thank you, merci. The next question, la prochaine question, from Kim Macklem, Wall Street Journal. Please go ahead. Your line is open. À vous la parole.
Hi, thank you. My first question is for Minister Morneau. I'm sure you're aware there's a lot of speculation leading up to this about the possibility of Senior Deputy Governor Carolyn Wilkins becoming the next governor. Can you please address why she was not selected, and can you please also address the role the government's focus on gender equality played in the decision-making process for the next governor?
Well, thank you. We were pleased that we had a robust process at the Bank of Canada to search for the next governor. We're also pleased that we had very strong candidates. I think it's a reflection of the strength and the high regard that the bank is held in, that we have such good opportunities for continued leadership. I won't be talking about the individual candidates, but I can say that I was pleased that the bank went through a robust process, and I'm very pleased we came to a strong and effective leader like Tiff Macklem to be the next governor of the Bank of Canada.
Thank you very much. And can you confirm that Senior Deputy Governor Wilkins will remain in her current role? And also, please, if you could explain how the transition will work when Mr. Macklin will begin his new role and whether he'll participate in the June rate decision.
Sorry, it's very muffled. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sorry about that. Can you please explain, whether or not Senior Deputy Governor Carolyn Wilkins will remain in her current role for the rest of her term, which I think is one more year, and when Mr. Macklin will begin his new role, and whether he will participate in the June rate decision. Thanks.
Thank you. What I would like to say is that we are very, very pleased to have such a strong Bank of Canada. Senior Deputy Governor Wilkins has done an excellent job and is a very important member of the team at the Bank of Canada. I know the bank has gone through this transition before, that there is a working together approach that will happen between the current governor, Governor Poloz, and the governor designate over the coming weeks, days, and a month or so. And they will work through that to make sure that that transition is seamless, working to make sure that we deal with the particular challenges of today, as well as the mandate that the bank has over the long term.
We will now go to the room. On va aller dans la pièce. Kelsey?
Hello, over here. Thank you very much for taking my questions, Mr. Macklem. My first question is for you. You had mentioned that you have been closely watching the current economic situation in the past couple of weeks. I'm wondering, do you see 0.25% as being the floor for rates going forward, and whether you think the interest rate target as it stands now needs adjustment?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that the bank only has one governor at a time, and for the next month, Stephen Poloz is the governor of the Bank of Canada. So we're not going to take any interest rate decisions today. With respect to the effective lower bound at 25 basis points, the Bank of Canada has elaborated a framework with unconventional monetary instruments. The possibility of using negative interest rates is included in that list. I think the reason it hasn't been deployed is that, well, let me put it this way. There are some disruptive effects of going negative. It's hard to explain to depositors why their deposits are shrinking in their account when they're not taking any money out. And when you've already got a disrupted financial system, you might want to be hesitant about introducing a new source of disruption. So when you look at the current situation, yes, I'm quite comfortable with the effective lower bound where it is.
Thank you. And as a follow-up, you have done a substantial amount of work the last couple of years looking at how the finance industry can help with the transition to a low-carbon economy. I'm wondering how you see that file playing into how you will approach your new governorship. And then in addition to that, oil prices, of course, have bottomed out. So I'm wondering if you have any sense on how long that could drag on for.
So on the first part of your question, as chair of the expert panel on sustainable finance, that report, which I had the privilege of chairing, was a report to the Government of Canada. They were recommendations to the Minister of Finance and the Minister of the Environment. And so with respect to those, I will certainly leave it to the government to decide what to do with those. With respect to the Bank of Canada's role in climate change and in sustainable finance more broadly, climate change is a major force that's going to be impacting the economy, like globalization, like technological change. And it's going to be important that the Bank of Canada understand how climate change is affecting the Canadian economy, how it's affecting the economy's productive capacity, how it's affecting its spending, and ultimately how it's going to affect prices. The mandate of the Bank of Canada is anchored in the inflation target. And we will be looking at climate change along with a host of other major economic forces acting on the economy to the extent that they affect inflation.
Nous allons maintenant retourner au téléphone. We are going back to the phones. Operator, it's for you.
Thank you, merci. The next question, la prochaine question, from Marc Godbout de Radio-Canada. Please go ahead, your line is open. À vous la parole, votre ligne est ouverte.
Oui, bonjour. Ma question est pour Monsieur Macklin, bien sûr. Il est clair. Est-ce que vous m'entendez bien? Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Sera mieux.
Oui, alors je vais essayer de rapprocher le téléphone. Est-ce que vous m'entendez bien?
Oui, vous pouvez procéder.
D'accord. Alors, ma question est pour Monsieur Macklin. Maintenir et approfondir la coordination en cours avec le gouvernement est certainement important en ces temps exceptionnels. Il y a certains experts qui vont dire qu'il y a certains risques à vouloir aussi trop collaborer parfois et que ça pourrait ultimement politiser l'institution et nuire à son indépendance. Alors, comment allez-vous faire pour, dans le fond, préserver cette indépendance?
La Banque est établie avec un mandat très clair nous avons une responsabilité de poursuivre la politique monétaire de manière indépendante. Le gouvernement et la Banque du Canada établissent le cible pour inflation de 2 %. Ça, c'est établi conjointement. Et après que c'est conjointement établi, c'est la responsabilité de la Banque du Canada d'utiliser ces outils pour maintenir l'inflation proche de la cible. Et on va utiliser nos outils comme nécessaire pour respecter notre mandat et je suis confiant que le gouvernement va respecter notre indépendance pour suivre notre cible qui était conjointement établie.
De la part du gouvernement, je voudrais dire que nous pensons que l'indépendance du Banque du Canada est très importante. C'est une approche qui était bonne pour l'économie. Il y a 80 ans, nous pensons que nous devons continuer avec l'approche de l'indépendance de la banque et ça va continuer pour nous avec le prochain gouverneur. On the part of the government, I'd like to be quite clear. We see the independence of the Bank of Canada as critical. It's something that has enabled our economy to be successful over previous decades. It's worked very well with previous governors, including with Governor Poloz. We had a strong and effective working relationship, but that independence was always critical. And I'm looking forward to that similar approach with the governor-designate Macklin.
Et M. Morneau, est-ce que vous pourriez nous dire quel a été le principal facteur qui a conduit au choix du prochain gouverneur, du 10e gouverneur?
Merci. Nous avons heureusement une très bonne situation au Canada où nous avons une banque du Canada qui est très bien respectée et qui est clairement une chef de file dans le monde. Nous avons eu des candidats très impressionnants pour le prochain gouverneur et je suis très heureux d'avoir quelqu'un avec un niveau d'expertise, un niveau d'expérience et une approche qui va considérer toujours la situation internationale. Et pour moi, c'est très important d'avoir quelqu'un comme Tiff Macklem comme le prochain gouverneur.
Operator, 3 more questions. C'est à vous.
Thank you. Merci. The next question, la prochaine question, from Heather Schofield from Toronto Star. Please go ahead. Your line is open. À vous la parole.
Good morning. My questions are for Mr. Macklem. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You have talked in the past about the need to crush the crisis, and when you're facing a financial crisis, that there's a need for big ideas and unconventional thinking. So now that you're in a position to actually do that and implement that, where will you head with that?
Well, yes, I'm glad to see you've been reading my material. Yes, this crisis is quite different in many respects from the crisis we faced in 08 and 09. In 08 and 09, it was fundamentally problems in the financial system, not so much in Canada, but particularly in the U.S. and Europe, that spilled into Canada, and our financial system froze. This time, it's a medical emergency. It's more like a natural disaster. And in order to deal with the immediate and critical public health issues, we've had to effectively lock down the economy. In this setting, the financial system hopefully can play more of a stabilizing role. And I just want to underline that the bold actions that the Bank of Canada have taken to provide liquidity to the system are being extremely helpful in making sure that the financial system can play that role. While this crisis is very different than the last crisis, as you alluded to, there are some features of crisis management, crisis leadership that span, that I think are more universal. And the one you referred to really is the need to try to overwhelm a crisis. You need to think sort of beyond the normal responses. You need to restore confidence. And I think when you look at what the Bank of Canada has done so far, when you look at the actions that the government of Canada has taken to provide a bridge to Canadians to the other side of this, these are bold, unconventional policy responses that really have embraced this idea that you've got to think beyond the normal responses. This is an unprecedented situation and calls for unprecedented response.
Thank you. So just to follow up, one of the other things that you suggested in terms of dealing with crises is that culture is very important and that it's social cohesion is crucial in terms of getting a grip on the crisis. How would you assess social cohesion in Canada right now, and does the Bank of Canada play a role in terms of making sure it doesn't fray?
I think the Bank of Canada plays a very important role. The Bank of Canada is the preeminent macroeconomic institution in this country, and it plays a very important role in trying to provide as much insight as it can as to what is going on in the Canadian economy. The bank has to be humble about what it doesn't know. There's a lot we don't know about this disease. There's a lot that medical experts don't know about this disease. But the Bank of Canada has tremendous analytic, economic, financial capacity to analyze what's going on in the economy. And I think an important role for the Bank of Canada is to provide Canadians with as much information as it can honestly provide as to what is happening and what the recovery could look like, recognizing that we're probably going to have to look at more than one scenario.
Prochaine question. Next question.
Thank you. Merci. The next question, la prochaine question, from Jordan Press, from the Canadian Press. Please go ahead. Your line is open. À vous la parole.
Oh, hi. Good morning. My question is for Mr. Macklin, and I just want to follow up on something, kind of the theme that Heather was just talking about, which is trying to think about unprecedented actions. And I'm just curious because there is, obviously this is unprecedented as a situation. So what is it that is your message then to the average Canadian, so that when you take over, they understand what it is that you are going to do for them to make sure that they can get through this, and also that afterwards, once we cross that bridge into a recovery, that they are going to be able to recover financially along with the rest of the country?
Well, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about this once I'm in the seat of the governor. So we may be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. But I think the important message to Canadians is that the Bank of Canada is here to play its part to providing essential liquidity to the financial system so that the financial system can play its role, keep credit flowing. So in this time with basically all these restrictions on economic activity, many businesses are closed. They still have to pay their fixed cost. It's really critical that credit keep flowing, that they can borrow money to be able to get them through this. And a critical function of the Bank of Canada is to provide the liquidity to keep the financial system functioning. As the restrictions are lifted, the economy will start to bounce back. It's not going to be a snap back to normal. It's going to be a phased approach where this virus is going to be out there for some time, and the Bank of Canada will play its role anchored in its inflation target to support that recovery.
So what then do you see are the key risks? I know Governor Poloz outlined some of them yesterday in a speech, but I'd like to hear your thoughts about the key risks that you think that need to be addressed for recovery to be as robust as possible and not have a start, stop, or U-shaped, L-shaped, or W-shaped recovery.
Look, we're going to the Bank of Canada. I guess last week, Steve. Time is hard to last week put out their monetary policy report, reflecting the high degree of uncertainty. They didn't put a single numeric forecast out there. They put a range, some scenarios out there, which reflected the fact that there are a number of risks. There is certainly a fairly optimistic scenario that when you think of this as a natural disaster, as we recover from the natural disaster, the economy bounces back fairly quickly. But clearly there are downside risks against that scenario. The virus is out there, and the experts tell us a vaccine is at least a year, if not a year and a half, 2 years away. We may never have a vaccine. So there are certainly risks. It's going to be very important that the Bank of Canada gets the best economic information it can and plays its role to support the recovery anchored in the inflation target.
Dernière question, last question. Operator.
Thank you, merci. The last question, la dernière question, from David Parkinson from the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead. Your line is open. À vous la parole. Votre ligne est ouverte.
Hi, gentlemen. Thanks very much, and congratulations, Tiff. Nice to see you again. I wanted to ask, obviously questions have come up about Senior Deputy Wilkins. Just want to know, what's your background in working with Ms. Wilkins, and what's your experience with her, and I guess what will be your expectations in terms of what your working relationship will be like based on your past experiences dealing with her?
I have worked closely with Carolyn Wilkins over my long career at the Bank of Canada. We were colleagues for many years. We worked very closely on a number of issues together. I hold Carolyn in the highest respect, and I'm very much looking forward to working with her.
And just to sort of expand on that, what do you see as sort of what she brings, given the current situation as well as going forward in your tenure? What's sort of the main strength that you see that she can provide to what you guys are going to be trying to do here over the next months and beyond?
Carolyn has a wide range of experience. She has considerable experience in financial markets. Together with Governor Poloz, she has been leading the extraordinary actions taken by the Bank of Canada in recent weeks. Together with the other members of the Governing Council, it's a strong, diverse team, and I am looking forward to working with them.
Okay, thanks very much.
I want to thank everyone for being here today. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. Thank you to all the journalists on the line. I want to take a moment again to thank Governor Poloz. He's been more than a colleague. He's been a friend over these last 5 years that we've worked together. He's done exemplary service for our country, and he will go into the next phase of his life with the knowledge that he's made an enormous difference and a positive difference for our country. So thank you very much, Governor Poloz.
Well, thank you very much, Master.
Hear, hear. And I want to say I'm looking forward to working with the Governor-designate, Governor-designate Macklin. He's someone who brings a wide range of expertise and experience, and we know that the bank will be in strong hands going forward. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.